and legends out there. It's like hanging out with all your like superheroes in the middle of them all. It's kind of weird, but
Man, Butterfield was a huge one. But this guy that Butterfield influenced, named Pat Ramsey, he was a crap stealer out of Biloxi.
Hey everybody, what's happening? Jason here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Subscribe today for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, thousands, into the thousands of free harmonica related YouTube content, lessons, everything. And today what we're doing is what we call a blues story. So I got a handful of these. Go to my YouTube channel, scroll down and find blues stories, and you can find out all about some cool stuff that has happened. People that we respect and admire and are honoring here on this channel. Slowly but surely. I don't do enough of these, but here's a fun one. This is a really fun one. Back in 2015, I played the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Tom Morello, Zach Brown, and the Paul Schaefer Orchestra. I was invited there to induct the great Paul Butterfield Blues Band, the whole band, into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I wanted to talk to you guys today a little bit about what it was like on that gig, right? Why I wore that outfit, how did I get the gig, where was I in my life, what was it like playing with Tom Morello, Zach Brown, Willie Weeks, Felicia Collins, Paul Schaefer, Anton Fig on the drums, Tom Morello. What was that like? What happened after? Did my life change? What was going on with that whole gig? How nervous was I? When did I get the music? What happened? The whole thing. So let's jump right in. First, we're going to watch the show that we did, and I'm going to jump in and interrupt as we go, right? If you want to see the whole thing without my meow, meow, meows in between, just go search Jason Ricci, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Paul Butterfield, or whatever you got to do. All right, let's go. Right, so they gave me the first solo there, just the intro, just like the actual album, the album version of Born in Chicago that Butter played. I tried to play it as close to Butter initially. So what I wanted to do was to kind of play a lot of his parts exactly the way that he did, and then later, out of respect for him, to play it more with just his influence, but to put my own thing on it. Because I do believe that blues music was created to be improvised, and that Butter didn't play, when he covered Off the Wall and Little Walter songs, he didn't play them the same way that Little Walter did. He put his own stamp on it, which I think is the essence of this music. After that happens, Morello and I, right there, go back and forth, supposed to take fills in between the vocals and alternate. And both of us ended up playing at the same time. So that was a mistake. Right before the show at Soundcheck, we came up with the arrangement. We decided upon this. And one of us, and I don't know who it was, probably me, forgot and who was supposed to go first. I couldn't remember. It makes sense that he would go first because I took the solo, so he would take the first fill. But we stepped on each other. But as you watch going forward, that's not going to happen again. Now we're very cautious of each other.
I was born in Chicago in 1941. Well, my father said, son, you better get a gun. Well, my girlfriend went down when I was 17 years old. Well, my first friend went down when I was 17 years old.
He just took two in a row, so maybe it wasn't my fault. Or maybe we thought that we were going to take one verse of him taking all the fills and then one of me. But I took the first. After that, I took the next one, and then he took two in a row. So, hey, yo, Tom, if you're watching this, bro, you took this. I thought we agreed upon that. All right, here we go.
There's one thing I say about that boy. He gotta go.
right, so that was my first real solo where I played like me, you know. I'm still a little Butter influenced there, by decision, you know, a couple of little licks. But basically I was just trying to play like me. I was really happy that I didn't like make any big mistakes or anything, and I'll get into it more with the audience, like who was in the front row of that audience, the musicians, the famous musicians that were just staring at me during that. And I was confident enough to kind of walk up front for my solo and kind of get my feature. I'm really proud of myself that I did that. You know, like you got to try to balance like respect for the band and being a band member with also, you know, standing up for the fact that it's a harmonica. Speaking of that, you know, a lot of people complained in the comment sections of this performance on YouTube and stuff that the harmonica wasn't loud enough. Well, I agree, it probably wasn't loud enough. It wasn't as loud as the guitars are. But as a harmonica player, professional harmonica player over the last 30 years, I got to tell you, I was just thrilled that you could hear it. Like, I mean, so many times we get buried in the mix, even when it's our band, even when it's Kim Wilson or Jason Ricci, the sound guy will bury their harmonica compared to the other instruments. So it's one of the reasons why so many of us bring big amps, so we can control at least some of the volume, at least on stage, right? Because they just drop us down. So, you know, I know that people would have liked it a little louder, considering it's Butterfield. It's a Butterfield tribute to a harmonica player who was the frontman, leader of the band. The way that the harmonica was mixed on the album, on the original track, much louder than this. However, I'm really, really grateful, maybe because of post-traumatic stress disorder, post-traumatic volume disorder, that you could at least hear it. At least you could hear that I was soloing. And I'm glad that I didn't make too big of a mistake on the solo.
Well, my second friend went down when I was 21 years of age. Well, there's one thing I say about that boy, he got brave.
So we just heard Tom's solo there. So let's talk about that for a second. So a lot of people in the comment section were saying that, you know, that Tom wasn't blues enough and he kind of shredded too hard and it wasn't a good blues tribute. Okay, there's a few things to consider. Okay, first of all, there was another band. There were two bands that paid tribute to Paul that day, but only one of the bands made the HBO cut. So you might be thinking, well, that's because of Tom Morello and Zach Brown. That's only part of the reason. I'll tell you the other reason. So the other band was Elvin Bishop, Mark Naftalin on piano. I can't remember who was playing bass. It might have been Willie, and Sam Lay on drums, and Billy Boy Arnold on harmonica. What happened was during sound check, that band chose not to sound check. And they said we don't need to sound check, we're going to be fine. Well, at the show, the amp, Billy Boy Arnold's amp, was feeding back so bad throughout the entire performance that they had to turn the harmonica off out of the mains because it was just squealing throughout the entire performance. So I don't think they could have really used that performance because of what happened with the amp. So those guys should have, Billy Boy, I'm sorry, brother. I don't know if you're watching. I don't know if you even watch YouTube, and I love and respect you. But maybe we should have sound checked that amp, Frank, because that's what happened. And that's why they didn't use that with guys that are more blues guys like Elvin Bishop and Sam Lay. And a lot of people complained who knew that they played at the show that why didn't they put that on HBO? Well, the reason is if you were there was a tremendous feedback problem throughout the entire song with the harmonica amp on stage. That's what happened. and that's why I think it didn't get used. As far as how Tom played, I think he played really great there. I don't think it was over exaggerated shredding or rock and roll. I mean, even Bloomfield was very exciting and kind of in your face guitar player, perhaps more steeped in the tradition of the blues greats than Tom was. But Tom has that name coming from Rage Against the Machine that's going to bring wonderful, deserved attention to the Butterfield Band. And if you have a bunch of guys up there, just guys like Elvin Bishop and me, and people that are like straight blues guys that nobody really knows except blues fans, okay, and real music fans, that nobody's going to watch it. What we're not just inducting Paul Butterfield and the Paul Butterfield Blues Band into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We're bringing national attention to who they are. There's a lot of viewers at home that have never heard of Paul Butterfield. They might have seen his name on a Woodstock poster, but if they weren't at Woodstock or they weren't buying albums in the 70s, they don't even know who that guy is. So this is a wonderful way. I'll tell you a little side story. When I was checking in to the event and they asked me who I was with, I said I'm with the Paul Butterfield Blues Band. And that's what on the back of my amp, the sticker's still there. It says PBBB, Paul Butterfield Blues Band, right? That's what I was told to check in with. And the woman taking things, she said, am I supposed to know who that is? And I was like, yeah, today you are, actually. Today you are supposed to know who Paul Butterfield is because he is being inducted into the Rock and Roll Blues Hall of Fame. So there you go. People don't know. Not even the people working the event knew who Paul Butterfield Blues Band was, at least not the woman that I ran into. So I'm glad they selected Zach Brown. I'm glad they selected Tom Morello. They did have Elvin Bishop. They did have Mark Naftalin. They did have Billy Boy Arnold. And they did have Sam Lay perform. And I honestly believe had there not been an equipment/feedback issue, that would have been included in the show too.
All right. If there's someone left to play the game, all my friends are going, things just don't seem the same. On the harmonica, that's Mr. Jason Ricci.
I want to cry right now because I'm so grateful to Zach Brown for saying that because it was a Paul Butterfield thing, so it's about a harmonica player. It's the great Paul Butterfield, who I love so much and who I grew up, thinking about a lot and playing a lot. And idolizing so much and studying video that was around, the video that existed, finding it on VHS before YouTube, before the internet. And when they introduced the band, they introduced Zac Brown and Tom Morello, and they didn't introduce me. And had Zac not said that at the very end, there wouldn't have been any mention of me whatsoever. Later in this video, we're going to see a post-show interview with Tom and Zac, and in that interview, I'm not asked any questions. As a matter of fact, I'm not even in the camera view. I'm off to the side, and they're just focusing on the guitar guys, the guys who are famous, and not asking me anything. And Tom actually interjects and says, well, look at Jason over here. Let's talk to him. One of the reporters asked about who my influences were. They were asking who they were, and Tom and Zac answered, and I just sat there quiet because nobody was asking me. And that reporter interjected, and so it was a combination of Tom and that reporter getting me involved in the post-show interview. And I'm really grateful. And a lot of people said, there was too much emphasis on Zac Brown and Tom Morello and not enough emphasis on Jason. Well, considering it was a harmonica band and I was the one selected to play harmonica, well, I got to say that there wouldn't have been any emphasis on me if it hadn't have been for Zac saying that at the end. My name never would have appeared in the beginning when they said, ladies and gentlemen, Tom Morello and Zac Brown for Paul Butterfield. They didn't say Jason Ricci. They didn't even say my name. They left it out. As normal, the harmonica is a footnote, even when inducting a harmonica player into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I was really, really, really grateful for that. Also, people complain that there was too much guitar. There's a lot of guitar, but there's 3 harmonica solos in that song. Off the top of my head, I don't remember how many Butterfield solos there are in the original Born in Chicago, but 3 harmonica solos is a good amount of harmonica. And I'm just so grateful that I even got one and that I got to do the gig, right? And I'm so grateful. And I'm so grateful to Zac Brown and Tom Morello for really caring. Okay, but that's it. Now let's get into the good stuff. Let me take a minute and kind of regain my composure. Okay, before we get into the interview, the post-show interview, which is fun and funny. Before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about a few things. So first of all, how did I get the gig? So the answer to that question is I don't know. I really don't. I tried to find out. There were that sound check for the gig. Paul Schaefer came up to me and he said, "Thank you for doing this." And I said, "Hey, Paul," I said, do you have just a minute? And he said, "Yeah, sure." And I said, "I was just wondering, how did I get the gig?" Because I know I believe he is the one who called my agent, but how did you get my name, right? How did you get my name for the gig? And he said he didn't know, that he thought Peter Wolf had gotten me the gig and that maybe somebody had heard me on YouTube or something. There's a lot of versions of me on YouTube playing Driftin' Blues, which isn't a Butterfield song, but that I play in a Butterfield kind of style. And maybe that was it. But I talked to Peter Wolf after the show, and he didn't know. He was just kind of like, "I don't know, man." Like he was kind of like, he acted like he was in outer space, when I came up to him. So I still don't know how I got the gig. But I did. I got the call. I know other people were thought of, and definitely was influenced by the fact that Gabriel Butterfield, Paul Butterfield's son, who was at the event, who was the one who presented the actual award ceremony for Butterfield, he is a friend of mine, and we met down in Key West. I had done an interview for a show I was doing in Key West, and in the interview, I talked a lot about Paul Butterfield, his father, and he came out to the show and he loved me and we bonded. He's a drummer, and we started talking a lot about music and about his dad, and over the years we stayed in touch. So I wouldn't doubt it if Gabriel Butterfield is the reason that I was selected. It was his decision, Paul's son's decision of who it was that was going to be at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, I don't know that for a fact. It's just a guess. So that's what I think, I think it was maybe a combination of YouTube and Gabriel Butterfield, or just Gabriel Butterfield, unless there's something I don't know. Got the call like maybe 3 or 4 months before the gig. I'm on probation. I had just gotten out of jail in 2011, and I'm on probation still, and I'm not allowed to leave the state, and I'm in Indiana. So I had to go to my probation officer and tell her that, look, I got this opportunity of a lifetime. I'm going to go to Cleveland. It's out of state, and I'm going to play the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Tom Morello and Zach Brown, and I need permission to leave. And I told her, her name, she's an incredible probation officer. I was very lucky to have her. Her name was Megan Mahaffey, and she said to me, or I told her, I said, listen, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going. So if you're going to put me in jail after this, for leaving the state, you're going to have video evidence, of course, right? Go ahead. Like, I'll go do another 30 or 60 days as a punishment for leaving, but I'm going to do this. And she said, don't worry, I'll talk to the judge. She said, and I'll make it happen. She said, but I want one thing. I want an autographed picture from Tom Morello, because she was a big Rage Against the Machine fan, which we got her. And you'll see in the interview, she's mentioned... I got her one, and it said, the Tom Morello wrote, to the greatest probation officer in the world, thanks for loaning me, or us, a master musician. So thank you, Tom, for signing that for Megan. And it turns out that my judge, Judge Todd in Indiana, was a big blues fan. So they knew I was staying sober and doing my best to, I wasn't perfect, but when I was wrong, I at least admitted it. They knew I was trying to get my act together, and they let me go, and there I was. So there's that. So now, another thing I've seen, a couple of comments on YouTube about my outfit. All right, so one guy wrote that Jason was dressed obnoxiously. Okay. Let's talk about the outfit. 2011, I get out of jail. I don't have any money. I don't have any clothes. Okay? All I've ever done my entire life, with the exception of a couple of department store jobs, a couple of gigs waiting tables, and a couple of gigs working at dry cleaners. Okay? Aside from that, I've never had a job in my life other than playing harmonica and touring all over the country in bars. When I get out of jail and they put me on probation, the first thing they say to me is, you're not allowed to be in bars and you're not allowed to leave the state. So I don't know how I'm going to make money. Okay, so I start teaching Skype lessons for the first time. I was resistant to the idea of teaching Skype. I didn't like the fact that we weren't in person. I didn't want to do it, but I didn't have any other choice. All I knew how to do was wait tables. I'm not even allowed to be in bars. So I can't even play in bars. Not only that, I can't even serve people food if there's an alcoholic beverage. So I could either work in a coffee shop or go back to dry cleaning, or I can teach harmonica on YouTube and on Skype. So that's what I chose to do. So I didn't have a lot of money. I'm just learning how to do this. I got rent. I meet Kate. We move in together, right? We're happy. We're building a life. I'm trying to stay sober. And all of a sudden I get this call just a few years into it for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm in Indiana, a state I've never lived in before. I just got busted there, right? And I'm trying to keep my head above water and make a living. I don't have money. I don't have any fancy clothes. I'm thinking Paul Butterfield, right? I want to go in there wearing something nice, like a suit. So my mom says to me, hey, Jay, I tell her about the gig. She says, I want to send you some money so that you can get a really nice suit for the show. So she sends me $100. Okay, now $100 isn't enough money really to get a suit. Now, I went to Goodwill and they just didn't fit right and I just didn't do anything. So I took the $100 and I paid a bill. I paid like the electricity bill or something, or part of the electricity bill. And I started trying to find some clothes, okay? So my neighbor, his name was Jason Moore. He's still a good friend of Kate and I's. He comes over and he knows I'm trying to find some nice clothes. And he brings over that red jacket. And he goes, hey, Jay, he goes, you can wear this for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And he goes, don't worry, it's Wrangler. So that's how I ended up with the red jacket. Now, a lot of people liked the choice because I stood out. And as a matter of fact, when I was walking out, and I'll talk about walking out in a second, when I was walking out to do for the performance, right, I passed by Willie Weeks, one of the greatest bass players in the history of the world. Donny Hathaway fame, one of the most famous bass solos ever recorded to tape was Willie Weeks on Donny Hathaway's song. And Willie Weeks says, my boy don't give a fuck. Referring to that red jacket. Now, I didn't mean to, I wasn't trying to stick out. I was just trying to look as good as I could with the money that I had. Dude who said I was dressed obnoxious, bro, I was trying my best. I didn't have any money. I thought the red jacket was kind of cool. I wasn't trying to like be anything special. I didn't know. I'm not the kind of guy that wears the t-shirt and the black t-shirt and the black pants. I'm not a rock and roller. I'm a blues guy. And like, I've done my rock and roll time, but I had put on a little weight. And when you got a little weight on you, you don't want a tight black t-shirt or a tight t-shirt. You know, it was skinny jeans, and that's what those guys were wearing. You know, I wanted to look like, you know, pretty presentable in a kind of blues way for Butterfield and for the history of the music. And I wanted something nice like a jacket. And that red jacket was what was given to me and what I chose to wear on that. So I didn't mean for it to be obnoxious. I wasn't trying to stand out or anything like that. That wasn't part of the decision. I was insecure about it the whole time, like when we were getting ready for the show and I was dressing, you know. The other thing was, I was called and told right before the gig, you need to bring a manager. Now, I actually had a manager who wouldn't show up. He was busy with one of his other artists. So I was like, I barely made it to sound check, right? I had to haul my own amp, like from the hotel in a one of those wheel things all the way a couple of blocks down the street to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I had to carry it in. Like I told you, the woman was like, she's like, who are you with? I said, Paul Butterfield Blues Band. She says,
Am I supposed to know who that is?
it's like, I mean, I barely got in, right, for my own sound check. I show up to the sound check. I'm right on time by the grace of God. You know, there wasn't anybody texting me, telling me where to be at what time. They gave me a handler, right? You get a guy that takes care of you. This guy's job is basically to make sure, it's not just for me, to make sure that the artists are where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be. And this guy did the best he could. You know, they also make sure that you don't go out and party too much. It was crazy. I didn't even know when I was going to play. Can you imagine that? You're going to be on HBO and 12.5 million viewers when you're up there playing. The front row that you're looking out at is your record collection. You're looking at Ringo Starr, at Green Day, at Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, Bill Withers, Dave Grohl, Paul McCartney, Miley Cyrus, John Legend. All of these guys, Stevie Ray Vaughan's band was there. The whole band was there. This is who you're going to play in front of. I had sound checked. We went over the music as best we could, right? So we did 5 or 10 minutes of talking. We sound checked, decided who was going to take the solos where and stuff like that. And then we went back to our hotel rooms, got ready, and came back. My handler seats me at a table. I'm at a table with Steve Cropper, rest in peace. Okay, and right over there, right next to me is Yoko Ono. Okay, Patti Smith's right there. Bill Withers is back there. Stevie Wonder's up there. Paul McCartney's over there. All within 20 feet of me. And I'm sitting at the table. Out of nowhere, that handler comes up to me and says, "Hey man, you're on in 5 minutes." Grabs me and takes me back And then I go into a room, and there's Tom Morello and Zach Brown, and they're going over that little guitar part they did together. They're trying to figure it out, and I'm just like, hey, guys, right? Like, me too. And they're like, yeah, man. Hey, cool, you ready, Jay? And I'm like, yeah. So I'm practicing my scales, right? Because what else are you going to practice, right? I don't know what I'm going to do, right? So I just do something to keep my head from getting too nervous. And my amp is all up there on stage. At least I hope. They'd set it up and they had it on wheels, and they had the Jason Ricci, Paul Butterfield Blues Band taped on the back of it. It's still taped on the back of it. You want to see? I'll show it to you. Right there. Paul Butterfield Blues Band, Jason Ricci. That's the tape from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Only thing in my head, walking out there to play in front of Stevie Wonder, Green Day, Bill Withers, Paul McCartney, Yoko Ono, Patti Smith, Beck, Karen O from the Yeah. All these people, right? The only thing in my head, Ringo Starr, the only thing in my head is don't trip. Like, don't fall down. Then in the other part of my head is, God, I hope my amp works, right? Like, don't let something go wrong with the amplifier. That's it. Just don't fall over. So when I'm walking out and I pass Willie Weeks and he says that, my boy don't give a fuck, I heard it. But all I was really thinking is, okay, there's that cable, step over that, be very cautious, breathe. I had inside my harmonica case, I had written the word breathe, right? Just breathe. And then after that first solo, and I played that kind of close to the Butterfield original. After that, I started to relax a little bit. The shoulders started to drop down. I'm like, the amp is working. I just stepped on Tom, and as we heard in the solos, he didn't remember. Like I thought, he didn't remember to go back and forth, so that wasn't my fault. But he was taking the fills, and that's cool. I got 3 solos. I'm happy, but that's what I was thinking. Don't trip, right? So that's it. That's my Rock and Roll Hall of Fame experience. And now I want you guys to watch the post-interview. Keep in mind here, the guy that everybody is demonizing in the comments, Tom Morello and Zach Brown, these guys are supportive of me. HBO and the bigwigs, they weren't asking the harmonica player any questions. I had a good attitude about it. I'm not going to lie. I was a little hurt. But then those guys made sure that I was included. Check it out. Thank you guys very much. That's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What it was like. Where was I at? I was a lowly cat on probation in Indiana, getting a second chance at life. Did my life change after this? Not at all. I never got one single gig as a result of doing this gig. 12.5 million viewers. I didn't get $10 more for my shows. None of that. It didn't move the needle, as they say in the business, right? It didn't move the needle. Not even a bit. Never got a call for a studio thing as a result of anybody seeing it. That's not true. There's one good thing happened. My wife and I are both huge fans of a Chicago rock and roll singer-songwriter guy named Ike Riley. And we went to see Ike Riley, and he knew who I was because he's on Tom Morello's record label and friends with Tom Morello. And so we became really good friends with one of our favorite singer-songwriters and rock and rollers, Ike Riley. That is because of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and again, because of Tom Morello. And Ike is a harmonica player. Check out Ike Riley if you haven't had a chance. Great music. The real honor was being able to be a person that got to play a part in playing tribute to the great Paul Butterfield Blues Band. And what better than on his song, Born in Chicago. Super grateful. God bless y'all. Appreciate it.
I'm still just kind of rattled being out there. I mean, that's a lot of heroes out there. It's like hanging out with all your like superheroes in the middle of them all. It's kind of weird, but Tom carried me through it, man. He's the junk, man. Getting to play with him was amazing. So I'm super excited about that, and what an honor. Thanks for the opportunity. You know.
Next. Here you go.
Biggest musical influence? I mean, the poster I had on my wall when I was practicing 8 hours a day for years was Randy Rhoads. He was like a musician's musician, and that I was not really inspired so much by like rock stars. I was by rock musicians, and I mean, one thing about the Paul Butterfield Blues Band is that's one of the things that they encap from the harmonica playing to guitar playing. They were musicians first and stars second. And so I see that very much in Zach, and I've aspired to that myself. So we tried to go out there, and we kept to some of the traditional blues for a while. Then we had to show our shredding skills at the end.
I was influenced by so many different things. A lot of 70s music, great harmony bands, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, James Taylor, Jim Croce, Allman Brothers, Eagles, Pink Floyd, Zeppelin. It was all across the board. Just love music.
Yeah, well, Junior Well's a big one, you know. Love Junior. But, man, Butterfield was a huge one. But this guy that Butterfield influenced named Pat Ramsey, he was a crap stealer out of Biloxi. That MF was the deal, man. And that's the cat that I just hung out with all the time. So if there wasn't a Butter, there wouldn't have been a Pat, there wouldn't be a Jason Ricci. You know what I mean? Thanks for asking the harp player a question.
Can I tell them your story? Yeah. My man here had to do a serious negotiation with his probation officer in order to play tonight. And it was a high-level negotiation with a lot of rockers and whatnot to get him here. But we didn't want to go for second best, so we're very pleased to have him to share the stage with him tonight. And he also shares the ethos of, I mean, he's a great musician. It's such a pleasure to play, you know, in the Paul Schaefer Band, too. It's such a great pleasure to play with people who can really play, you know. And the shorthand, like, musical notation as we were discussing the song it came together very fast, and it was very exciting to play with all these great musicians tonight. It's a real
So that's it. Big thanks to Tom Morello and Zach Brown. Big thanks to Paul Schaefer in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Getting to play with some of the greatest musicians in the world: Anton Fig, Willie Weeks, Felicia Collins, Paul Schaefer. Thank you. If any of you guys are watching this, you have no idea what it meant to a club player, a little guy riding around in Ford Econolines for the last 30 years playing blues music. You have no idea what it meant for me to be on stage for Paul Butterfield, for the Butterfield Blues Band, and with you guys, and I appreciate that. Hey man, you guys please call me if you need any more gigs, man. Right, come on, I'm still in the Econo line, man. Hook a brother up. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for visiting my YouTube channel. Over 1,000 harmonica-related videos. Everything from gear to lessons to blues stories to stuff about my personal life, addiction, mental health, jail, anything you can imagine that has anything to do with playing harmonica or harmonica in general, right here on Jason Ricci's YouTube channel. 20 years of YouTube right here. I'd like to thank some of the people that make it possible. The Lone Wolf Blues Company, bringing you the very best in harmonica microphones, pedals, anything you can imagine that has to do with the harmonica besides the harmonica itself. Lone Wolf is doing it. Family-owned company right up the road from me in Ponchatoula, Louisiana. Randy Landry and his beautiful wife, Missy. Family-owned company doing the very best they can to bring you quality, guaranteed products that are all assembled right here in the United States of America. Blue Moon Harmonicas. You can get your name on the harp just like me. Custom combs. Pre-war harmonicas from the Sonny Terry estate, all makes and models, just about anything you can imagine. Tom Halchek from Blue Moon can do it for you. And I play Hohner harmonicas, and Hohner hooks me up with some great harps that I love. They're like sports cars. I dig them. Pedal pad, pedal boards. Two brothers out of Topeka. They found me. I was already playing their stuff, and they called me up and said, Jay, we want to support you. They made me a brand new pedal board this year. It's absolutely beautiful. I love it. It's held up to the rigors of the road. I've seen some fancy pedal boards from some other companies. They're amazing, but they don't match the quality and the durability of pedal pad made by two brothers out of Topeka. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget, harp gear, amplifiers. Even though you see me on a Twin or a Fender Bassman at home in New Orleans, when I just need to bring something up real quick, I'm grabbing Carmelita. That's my HG 410 from Harp Gear Amplifiers, Brian Purdy out of Ocala, Florida. Thank you to Patreon. Patreon is the one who's keeping these videos free for you. If you've seen one of my thousands of free harmonica lessons, it is because people are contributing to Patreon. I'm not gonna lie, I'm motivated by a little money, right? The videos are free here for you because Patreon is supporting me. It's giving me $1, $5, whatever it is that you can contribute a month on Patreon. That's what's happening. They get a little extra. They get some private Zoom meetings, some private lessons, some behind the scenes vlog stuff. All of that's over on Patreon. All of the links to all of this stuff is right below every single video. Thank you again to all of my sponsors, and thank you, Patreon, for your support. If you don't want to be a member of Patreon, I understand that. You can leave a one-time tip at Venmo or PayPal. Those links are right below this video and every other video and on my channel page right here on YouTube. All the success I've had, whether you're a Patreon patron or you're supporting my sponsors or not, is because of you, the viewers on YouTube. Whether you subscribing, leaving a comment, liking the video, or sharing, you are helping me in some part. You don't have to do all of it or any of it, but maybe you could do a little of it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.